I don't want to sit in a cafe in Stockholm reading New Moon. Or do I? Autumn time! Happy autumn, everyone. To celebrate the changing of the seasons, I'm going to be doing the Cozy Autumn book tag. Thanks and credit go to Lucy at the Book Bell who created this tag. And now we get to enjoy it together. The seasons are changing, although I'm in Sydney and really it just still feels like summer. I really like when summer cools down a bit into autumn time. So, on to question number 1. What book reminds you of autumn? I think this one kind of actually is more a winter kind of book, but I would say Twilight is one of them. Everything's dreary and wet and cold, so maybe more winter appropriate, but I don't know, maybe it's the red of the apple on the cover that makes me think more of autumn time. And I know that apple picking is a thing in the US, but obviously the apple on the cover is not to represent apple picking, it's to represent forbidden fruit and desire, etc, etc. One book that really reminds me of autumn time, because there is so much description of autumn within the book, is My Dark Vanessa. My Dark Vanessa is a story written by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and it follows the story of a teenage girl who goes to a school, and how does one explain? My Dark Vanessa has some beautiful writing in it, but be warned that some of the content it's not a cozy autumn book. It is a confronting but meaningful story about the journey of a woman when she's 32 and flashbacks to when she was 15 and when her professor started to groom her. I don't need to really expand more for you to understand why that is heavy, so trigger warnings obviously, but the reason it reminds me of autumn is because the grounds of the school are described so vividly with all the autumnal colours, and most of it takes place, the flashbacks from memory take place during the autumn time, and that aspect's really beautiful, but then it's contrasted with the heavy dark themes. And I would recommend this only if you feel that you're up to something that is unpleasant like that to read. I want to reread it. I read it may have even been like 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I would recommend this one, but proceed with caution. Question number 2 is, what is my favourite autumnal book cover? And I think that would be The Witches of Vardo. I don't know if I'm saying Vardo right because it has a little accent on it. We'll do our best. This is on my to be read shelf. It is a story set in Norway in the 1600s, and it follows the story of 3 women who I believe are accused to be witches, and their lives are kind of intertwined. It's historical fiction, and I really want to read this. It was a book I thought of reading last April, and I didn't. I really enjoy the design of this, and the colours are really beautiful. It could also be a bit wintry, perhaps. I always see these as flames, but if you look closely, they've got patterns that kind of make it look like they're actually leaves and they're red. So, autumn time! A few other mentions would be We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, the orange penguin cover edition, which has some really nice illustrations of mushrooms, and I think there's a cat, and maybe I'm also being literal again because it's orange. But they do talk in the story about taking things from the earth to preserve so that they can eat them through the harsher seasons. So I feel like that also fits quite well. Also Bunny by Mona Awad, but not the hot pink, fluorescent pink version, the orange one that has a beautiful kind of lifelike illustration of the rabbit on the cover. I think that has quite an autumnal vibe, which I tried to buy and then I got the hot pink cover and I was so disappointed. But it's fluorescent, like it's so bright and vivid that it just looked weird on my shelves, and then I didn't enjoy the book either, so it went off to someone else who hopefully loved it more. But alas, autumnal cover. Then there's also The Wolf's Secret, which I haven't read. I don't really know anything about it, but it's a beautiful cover, so hats off to the illustrator. Question number 3, what is your favorite autumnal drink to read with? To be honest, I need to learn the difference about the different amounts of milk and foam and all that, because what's the difference really between a cappuccino, a latte, and a flat white? I don't know. If I'm at a cafe, I do enjoy a latte or a mocha, whereas if I'm at home and it's cold, I might make myself a cup of tea. I do enjoy the T2 Melbourne breakfast tea. I do enjoy green tea as well every now and then, but I don't usually have it at home. Maybe I should buy some. I have never had a pumpkin spice latte. I like pumpkin, but like I don't really like pumpkin pie, and I imagine that the drink is kind of like a pumpkin pie version in drink form, like a slurry of pumpkin, which I don't know if it sounds that great to me. Please let me know. I drink sparkling water year round, but that's not very cozy. Do you prefer to read late at night or early in the morning? Late at night, I would say, if I had to choose between the two, because when well, first off, I like to sleep. I like my sleep, and so I don't really like getting up early in the morning if I don't have to. I do read on the weekends during the daytime. Like I love to go and lie in the sun and read a book by the water or on a patch of grass somewhere. That's usually during the day, whereas if it's a work day, a weekday, I would read maybe in the afternoon when I got home. So if I had to choose, it would be the evening before bed or in bed. There's my non-answer. Clearly this is for the Northern Hemisphere, because next is number 5. Halloween is coming. What is your favorite spooky read? Halloween is technically in like 6 months, but let me get into it. I don't like scary books. Reason? Because they're scary. I don't like scary movies. I don't like scary books, or I don't mind if they're a little bit creepy perhaps, but not like gory, scary, like full-on horror. Don't like that. That's not for me. I think my favorite spooky read would be Coraline, which I haven't read for quite a few years, but it's stuck with me as a book that has very eerie, creepy, get under your skin kind of feels. I first read Coraline when I was in high school, and some of the illustrations by Chris Riddell are really creepy. And it just adds to the experience. Even if you read it without the illustrations, you would get the eerie vibe and you feel a bit icked out, like something's clearly not right, and then you find out what's going on, and it's quite horrifying and sad. Maybe another one would be Through the Woods, which is a graphic novel of short stories that are all a bit creepy. I had it when I lived in London, and I gave it to one of my friends. I might borrow it back from her to read at some point. I am intrigued to go back to it, especially because I think I'm quite enjoying some graphic novel energy at the moment. I feel like I want something visually interesting to look at. Oh, actually, it kind of goes along with what I'm currently reading, which is also fairy tale retelling short stories with some illustrations in it, which is Beasts and Beauty. It retells 12 different fairy tales, each with its own different twist on the original, whether that's in setting or the actual events that happen, or who's the villain and who's the hero. And I really am enjoying it. I think I've read 5. I'm in the middle of Hansel and Gretel. I'm around halfway, maybe a bit less than halfway through at the moment, and I just started it yesterday. Damn. But they're very quick and easy to read individually, one by one, and of course you can take your time. I got mine from the library and I'm really enjoying it. It's not too spooky, but it's got a bit of edginess to it. This is, well, I read that it was middle grade, but I would say it's more young adult. It has good twists that I enjoy. Number 6, what is ultimate comfort to read for you? I don't really have a book that I go back to for comfort. I have more books that I will reread if I'm in a bit of a slump and don't know what to read. But I wouldn't say they're really for comfort, because one is the Hunger Games series, which is not comfortable. It is the opposite. What also comes to mind is Twilight, because I read that. Well, actually, here we go. Twilight and The Hunger Games. I read both of them during the first lockdown that we had in 2020 with COVID. So maybe they are kind of like comfort, even though The Hunger Games has a lot going on and it's not relaxing. It's very immersive. The Twilight, I have only reread the first one. I haven't reread the series and I want to. So maybe that'll become my comfort read. Number 7, what is your favorite autumnal reading snack? Ooh, perhaps it would be like a cinnamon bun or a milk bun from a Swedish bakery, because they're just so good and they're very hard to find. They're hard to get. So I think that makes them also yummier, because you know that they are not easy to obtain. Or anything chocolatey. I'm a chocolate gal. Ooh, you could also do like, or if you go more savory, I don't know if this is a reading snack though. Maybe this is just girl dinner, but I'm like, cheese, pickles, a dip, dried apricots, some crackers. I don't know, something like that. If we're going more savory. What is your favorite autumnal candle to burn whilst reading? I have a few. Ooh, behind me. This isn't particularly autumnal, but I like it all the same. This is from H&M and it's the Yuzu Blossom Woody and Aromatic Scented Candle. It's very pretty. Ooh, is this some ASMR? Except I have no nails, so it makes no sound. There's also an H&M candle that's linen smelling. It's just very light and fresh. I'm not into super heavy scents. I also have a new candle. The Reader's Candle Mystery Novels, and it's bamboo scented. It doesn't really smell like much, but I kind of like that because it's just lightweight, not super heavy duty. Number 9, when you're not reading, what is your favorite autumnal activity? I think mine are pretty simple and they're also what I like to do throughout the year, but I do like walks during autumn time for the few trees that actually change, getting to see them. When it's dreary and getting a bit cooler outside, it is nice to take the time to intentionally go outside, because you might not want to as much, especially if it's rainy. Walking in the rain is quite therapeutic, although I have to get past my own mental block of going, oh, it's wet, I don't want to go outside, even though I think that's just the nuisance aspect of, oh, I have to put on like proper shoes. But actually walking in the rain is really lovely. Also just homely activities like drawing, journaling, scrapbooking. I like cooking. There's a really nice tart that I know from the Green Roasting tin. It's with brie and carrot and puff pastry and thyme and honey, and it's just really easy to make and really super yum. I do like cooking as well, and cooking for other people is nice. Number 10, what's on my autumn reading list? I'm currently in the middle of 3 books, which I'll tell to you because I'm going to be reading them in autumn time. The first one is Beasts and Beauty and finishing that off. I'm also reading The Picture of Dorian Gray. I'm almost 3/4 through. I'm reading partially physical and partially by the audiobook narrated by Ben Barnes. And the other audiobook I'm listening to is Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, narrated by Miriam Margolyes on Spotify. And I'm really enjoying her rendition of it, even though I'm not super into the story itself. I'm not sure what I'll read once I finish these. I think I can finish all of these within the next week for sure, if I really want to, which I do. So what am I saying? Beyond those 3, I'm not quite sure what I want to read. I am going away overseas next month to Europe for about a month. I keep wanting to read Twilight, and I think it's time because I kept wanting to read it towards the end of last year and I haven't yet, and it's like it's sitting there. I might read that and then I could get the others on Kindle, but it feels a bit stupid because they're still like $15 or something each. My housemate actually, she has them, so I can just borrow them from her. She's offered for me to borrow them before, so I could take her up on that, but I don't want to carry them all around. I don't want to sit in a cafe in Stockholm reading New Moon. Or do I? I don't know. I think I'm just scared a bit of the judgment. And to be fair, if I saw someone reading Twilight in public, part of me would be like, oh, and part of me would be like, yeah, get it, girl, or whoever, do your thing. I'll have to ponder the answer to that and get back to you. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you're having a great start to autumn or spring. If you've gotten to the end of this video, let me know what you're planning to read this season, and also if you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, by leaving me an emoji. Leaves or pumpkins for autumn and flowers for spring. Groundbreaking. That's enough from me. See you later. Let me say that again. Blah, 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 blah.